All right, so I watched season 2, episode 3 of House of the Dragon, and things are heating up right now, guys. Get it? Heat, fire. Fire comes from dragons. Dragons are in this show. Oh my gosh, I am so good at this. Anyways, this was another solid episode. It does feel a little bit like we're trotting along to the war. I will say, based on what they're doing right now, if the war doesn't start like this season, if we don't have swords clashing this season and they're like building up to season 3 or something where things kick off, I could see that being underwhelming because it's like even in this episode, I'm kind of with the advisor dudes who are like, Renera, what are you talking about? Like war is happening. What do you mean you're gonna try and barter with Alicent? She's not gonna listen to you. Like it is what it is. And actually that was very much the theme of this episode of like it doesn't really matter where these conflicts start, you know. And again, I not that I know anything about this, but it is even reminiscent of like the conflict between Israel and Palestine right now, where at least a sentiment that I hear a lot. Again, I don't know anything about it, but a sentiment that I hear is that it's just such like a complicated thing, and it's like to go back to be like, well, who started it between the two sides? It's like we are where we are right now, and that like where it started is hardly even relevant to how it's going to get resolved. And it, they talked about that very same thing here in this episode with like the two like houses or whatever that went to war in the first or at the beginning of the episode. It's when you talk about what really happened that night between King Viserys and Alicent and Rhaenyra, where like he either said that Rhaenyra should be the king or the queen, or he said that Aegon should be the queen or the king. Sorry, I can't talk. But it's like it doesn't. None of that even really matters, because when you look at the state of things right now and how heated both sides are, and the claims that have already been made, it's just like you guys you're gonna go to war. There's no stopping it. And although to be fair, they did definitively say, because by the way, it was also like sort of a meta theme, because in my mind I was like, bro, I don't even remember what the King Viserys said. I actually could not remember watching this episode, and when Alicent and Rhaenyra were having their conversation of like, I don't remember who the rightful heir of the throne is. I mean, they do definitively confirm in this episode that it was Rhaenyra, like they do remind me. But it was actually a bit of a meta theme where I'm like, bro, I don't even remember. And I watched it. I was in omnipotent being, witnessing all of these events. Although I will say, I don't know how the laws of this land works, but I feel like the king shouldn't be able to privately change his mind. Like that should have to be some decree that he makes at some like official meeting or whatever. Like I find it very weird that like it would even be recognized that Alicent would just be like, actually the king told me before he died that my son was gonna be king. Like he should have to make that decree, and at some official thing. I will just note that. So I will say, like this episode was like a pretty like, and it's good that they did this right before the war started. That it's like, okay, listen, all of these sides kind of suck. Like they're all like warmongers. They're all war criminals. Like none of these people are good. But to be fair, Queen Rhaenyra she is the rightful heir to the throne, right? Like you could make an argument that it's like, oh well, she started breaking customs by having sex with her guards or whatever, and her sons aren't like actual Targaryens or whatever. And it's like, okay, like you can knock some points off of her for that, but like at the end of the day, the king made her the rightful heir to the throne. So it's like, I guess you do have to ultimately side with them, Like, I feel like it would be pretty weird for you to side with Team Green at this point. I mean, especially because just like how much of a little idiot King Aegon is. Like, he's clearly not fit for the throne either. It would be like more of a conversation if Queen Alicent was on the throne, but it's not. That's not the case either. But yeah, no, it was, even though I am talking about how sort of impatient I am, or that I could see myself being impatient, in the lead up to the war, it is still a good episode. Like, it is, what Game of Thrones is at its best, to be fair, which is it's people standing in rooms talking, and that's still pretty compelling. I'm interested to see where what's his name again, the incest uncle guy, Doctor Who. I'm forgetting his name. Damon. Yeah. I'm interested to see where he goes. I wonder if he's gonna have some like big like redemption arc or whatever, where he's like, damn, maybe I should stop being so thirsty for that throne. I don't know, maybe. I actually, I will say, I appreciate how they're not making Aegon and his brother. I forget all these people's names, bro. But Eye Patch Kid. I do appreciate that they're not just making them another Joffrey. They're not just two other Joffreys. They're not completely awful. Like, Aegon, he's kind of been pushed and prodded into this position of being a shithead, right? Like, at first, and even right now, he's not a terrible person. He really is just a kid that's been foisted into this role, And Eye Patch Guy, he's also not necessarily a monster. Like, I don't know, like they do like interesting things where they'll have him like genuinely love his like his mistress or whatever, or not his mistress, but the we'll say the sex worker. And you could tell like how uncomfortable he was when they barged into his session. And it actually was kind of sad when he was like, this whole is the same as all the others, or whatever he said. So I appreciate that they're not making them just Joffrey 2s. But yeah, overall, I appreciate the show. I will say it seems like Otto is actually out of the picture, at least for now. He wasn't in this episode, so we'll see if he comes back or something. Sir Criston, he's just so unlikable. He honestly is like the most unlikable character in the show so far. I don't know, man. They're just like, you just hate him, especially now that he has a terrible haircut. I don't know. Especially when he's like, Queen Alicent, can I have your blessing or something? It's like, dude, you're so pathetic. And she like took out her handkerchief or something. It was like so like, ugh, I don't like you. I hope you die. But yeah, either way, enjoyed the episode. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next video.